Hello and welcome to Tamriel Unchained, episode 3. This week we got a lot of stuff that have come down the pipe into the private test server. Yeah, I guess it would be called the private test server, not the public test server. Which that's gonna be a rant later today, public test server. So, so before we get into all the awesomeness that has hit the private test server, the PTS, let's introduce our host this week. So to my left, we have LumiTheLock.
Hello, it is a pleasure to meet you. I am LumiTheLock. And I have been told by people that I am crazy. I don't know why.
You'll find out later why. I'm pretty sure he'll say something weird. And below me is the floor. Below him is Engwar.
What's up, everybody? Engwar, resident old timer, I guess now.
Yeah, you wouldn't know this to look at him, but the guy's old. Like, he's got 2 kids in college and another one in high school, and it's like you would not look. And I mean, I don't know how to say this without sounding weird, but dude, you look good.
Well, thanks,
so should
man.
I introduce myself as the young punk?
You're ginger. They don't age.
Oh.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I say I've played for 13 years, that doesn't mean I started at like 7, like most of the current generation. I didn't start playing MMOs until I was in my 20s. So
I would have been 14 when I started.
14?
14? Yeah.
I think I was about 18 when I started.
I got you beat. All right, so let's jump into the awesomeness that has happened this week. So last week we talked about Guild Summit in episode 1 and 2. We talked about Guild Summit 1, or day 1, and episode 2 is about Guild Summit day 2, and some of the things that are going to be happening in the near future, Justice System, Champion System. And this week we're going to talk about what is going to be happening for, I would say, close to a month. I'm going to guess November 17th is the release date. So we're going to talk about patch 1.5, and in patch 1.5, there is a whole plethora of changes. I mean, I'm not going to go through all of them on this episode because we will be here for hours. So we're going to talk about the hot button ones, the awesome ones, the ones that made us all go, holy crap, it's about bloody time. So before we go into the hot button topic, so I want to go around the group here, and I want to ask you guys, what was your favorite change that's going to be happening in patch 1.5. So we'll start off with Lumi.
I'm going to say chat bubbles just for you, Garbrac. No, actually, like, I think there's a lot of really interesting stuff that's coming out with this patch. I would actually have to say my favorite thing is the Undaunted dailies and the aspect that comes with them. Like, I actually got to test out some of the check out some of the passives, and there's some really interesting passives that they're adding on to the Undaunted tree. But like the ability from, I haven't seen the only ones I've seen right now are just finish the dungeon and kill everything. But supposedly there's supposed to be additional things for like timed runs, so it's going to incentivize those again. Just besides the achievements, you also get a bonus for trying to do the timed runs.
Mm-hmm. The enclaves, or the Undaunted enclaves, are definitely an awesome addition to this game, and that is something we will be talking about in this episode because I have a really good community topic I want to touch on. But before we get to that, let's ask Engwar. Engwar, what was your awesome? Can't wait to have it happen.
Oh, dude, hands down, the crafting writs and the whole system with the crafting dailies. I think that is so awesome. So, as a big time crafter myself, I'm so looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think I should have asked this question pre-show, but you guys took both topics that we're going to be talking about today, so we have no little banter now. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome. Well, now the question is, Garbrac, what's your favorite thing? Yeah, we left chat bubbles for you, so there you go.
My favorite thing, I would actually have to say, is, as much as I don't use it, werewolf. I mean, it's almost an entirely new thing now.
Yeah, like I love my vamp. I'm tempted to go werewolf. Like especially since they're spoilers for ahead, they're nerfing Bat Swarm.
Yes. Thank God that is happening.
No, that's not a spoiler. I mean, they released the patch notes. Everybody.
Yeah, true.
Well,
you're right though. I'm seriously considering dropping Vamp too. I mean, with Ash City coming online, which is going to be a vampire's nightmare, and the nice changes that they made to werewolf, and yeah, I'm thinking about picking it up myself.
Well, before you you jump onto the werewolf bandwagon, prepare yourself because Imperial City, the dungeon, is all poison.
Also, you're screwed. It's 6 of one, half dozen of the others.
Yeah, honestly, when they did City of Ash, they probably like, wow, we really like gave it up to the vampires on this one. And it's like, let's screw over the werewolves.
Next one.
Yeah. What can we do to screw them?
Let's go back and forth. Screw over the werewolves. Screw over. I know a lot of people have actually asked for this in like a skill line that if you pick neither, if you decide to stay straight, like you get a bonus. Which is like, well, then you'd have to also have some type of drawback because that's the whole point of the werewolf and vampire is you get a drawback alongside of the abilities that you get the bonuses.
See, I'm against that. I mean,
Yeah,
you start introducing neutral things, and where's the normal? Like, when do you start calling yourself normal? Like, if you want to be a vampire, you get these abilities. If you want to be a normal everyday hero, because it's the Elder Scrolls, you're not just a peasant, you're a hero. You should just be that hero. Why do you need this special tree to say you're normal? Like, come on, really? What do you think, Engwar? Should there be a neutral tree?
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. Pick one, commit.
All right, I can like you for another day.
Pick one or commit. That's what I'm saying.
So, along with the patch 1.5 and the two topics that we've already touched on that we're going to talk about later, another massive overhaul, and I think it's a really big understatement to say massive. It's unfathomable the amount of work that has gone into this update, and that's the facial animations. I've had the opportunity to go on the PTS and actually take a look at this. If you haven't, jump on the PTS now. Well, not now, but after.
Don't do it now. Depressing.
And take a look at these animations. Like, both of you have been on the PTS. What do you guys think about this? Like, do you guys have any feedback?
Well, I was watching your stream when you were talking about it earlier, and I agree with the point that you made on the stream that from here down, they did a great job. From there up, not so engaging.
That's one of the things is like they changed all the dynamics of it. And I was actually joking around with them, not this past SO Live podcast, but the one before that when they first were mentioning that it was going to be in this patch, was I was hoping that they'd actually bring back something that was a hilarious glitch early on where I call it the demonic possession glitch, where randomly the NPCs would snap their necks sideways, their eyes would roll in the back of their head, and their mouth would start twitching. It was just like, okay. But yeah, the facial animations, that feels a lot more realistic. There's still some issues and stuff with it, but it's a bigger improvement where it gives, that's one of the things with the Elder Scrolls game is it gives life to more of the community. Stuff where it gives more life to the things around you.
Yeah, it's tremendous progress is what they're making here, and I'm glad that this is going to be on the PTS for another probably month at least, so that maybe they can work out some tweaks here and there. So.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the amount of work that has gone into just what appears to be a simple, oh look, you made the mouth move better. I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into that, and like I said on the stream, I think, like you said, below the nose and down is perfect. I mean, you can see the lips move, you can see the sides of the cheeks and stuff kind of go with the words, and the jawline's actually moving. But from the nose up, like the eyes, there's no. I don't want to say emotion, yeah, because the eyebrows are painted on, and I would like to see a little bit more emotion in the face than just the lips. But other than the
they said on the
part, it looks great.
They said on the SO Live podcast and stuff that that's actually one of the things that they're looking at working on. Like, this is the first step in a multiple step thing. Like, they want to make sure that eventually it's more brings more of the motion. And so this is like just the mouth is the first step. So maybe next time they'll do the eye, the nose. Next time they'll do the eyes, and then they'll do the eyebrows and the forehead.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get more expression out of concerned, or I'm distressed, or I'm so excited, or can you please help me? Like you said, man, eyebrows would make a big difference in those kinds of expressions.
They would, especially when they got any disconcern to what they're saying. I mean, eyebrows say a lot to what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's why people with no eyebrows are really weird.
Are you saying that because they don't have eyebrows, they're unexpressive?
I didn't say that. You did. So another big change, one that Engwar really enjoys, is the crafting writs. The certifications. You actually have to be certified by an NPC to be a crafter. In a way, not really. I mean, it's just access to writs and stuff like that. But I think these are really, really good for the game. It's a reason for people to log in. As much as I hate dailies, I think that is a big thing. But it's a requirement in an MMO nowadays. You have to have a reason for players to log in, and dailies achieve that.
It's something to fill
perfectly.
the gap.
Well, yeah, until there's new content. But with what's in the game now, with these crafting writs and it being a form of a daily, you get some really decent rewards. Some of those really hard to obtain items, like the kudas, the curs, the tempers.
For the provisioning, you have a chance of getting the epic recipes from each of the things. Which when I heard that, I'm like, dang it! When this goes live, I'm going to have to keep on just spamming out the cooking one every day.
Yeah, you should be doing them all every day. And when you finish. When you do get certified in all of them, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but you get a new achievement with a die. It's a nice green die. It's really good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But my question to you is it too easy for the rewards you get? I mean, all you do is you get your crafting writ. If you're a clothier, you got to create 3 pieces of cloth. I mean, it's really not that complicated.
Well, the thing is, for most dailies, they've never been that complicated. They're just supposed to be essentially kind of time-consuming. And like you said earlier, I actually like the bonus of where I would literally, and I'm tempted to do this every day, just hop onto my alts and do all the things so that they're slowly leveling the professions up, because you get a decent chunk of XP for your profession by doing these. And so it's a way to essentially just hop on once per day and to level your professions. All of them.
Yeah, no, I think it's especially the certification process, it's almost like a mini tutorial, if you will. Because if you think about it, when there wasn't really anything to tell you how to do crafting in ESO, even from launch day, you just kind of had to like go to a station and kind of figure out all this and what is a trait and how do I use all of this stuff. So actually, that's kind of like cool about the certification process. It is kind of like a little mini tutorial to help get you into the process of crafting. You can decide whether you like it or you don't like it. And then the dailies is just there. It's just something to get you engaged in the whole crafting system. I think it's a great idea.
Okay, so maybe not it being too easy, but what about in terms of it actually making you feel like you've done something with your time? Like, I'm a little disappointed in it, in the aspect, and I want to know if I'm just the only one here. My crafting daily, after I got certified, I went to Belkarth, and I grabbed my clothier daily. My clothier daily was to make 3 pieces of cloth, and then go to the Belkarth crafting hub and return it. I mean, I didn't have to leave this town. I had all the. I went from one building to the spot. That was it. And I mean, that to me seems kind of boring. Like it doesn't really make it seem worth it. Where
should you have to storm a dungeon and go find a particular type of crafting mat or something to complete your writ? Is that what you're kind of looking for?
Well, yeah, I'm looking for something that requires me to at least
must complete the Sanctum Ophidium in order to get writ.
I don't know about that, but
everyone would be like, "What? Screw that."
Yeah, I'm not asking for like this heroic raid on a simple daily. I'm just make me leave the town at the very least. Maybe, like if you do the crafting certifications, they actually send you to a small area to go get these mats, and these mats are all in one small area. That's clearly an instance part for that area for you. Why can't they do that with other items? Like if I'm in Belkarth, make me go Upper Craiglorn and go pick up this rare piece of something. And
that's got to maybe buy some type of couple mobs or something.
Well, you only just touched the surface of the whole crafting writ system certifications anyway, right? You didn't go many writs into it, right? You just did 1 or 2.
Yeah, well, I mean,
so we don't know if later
on.
Yeah, we don't know if later on that the more writs you complete, maybe they're going to increase the difficulty and have you go into harder places where you got to get these mats. I don't know. We'll find out.
There you go, being all logical and stuff.
That's what things is. Like, I got 2 of the maps for the different things, and they were kind of like you had to actually go throughout Craiglorn. And one of the things that I'd be interested in, and this is one of the things that I'd love to see, is like there's a bit of a story that goes along with each thing as you do in your crafting writ. Like I believe in Balcroft is talking about supplying the effort against the serpent and the different things that are there. So I was wondering if like each, because it's based on each zone. Because when we were talking earlier, Engwar, you're talking about that it was you had to turn yours in. What zone were you turning yours in?
It's the very first place where it's in Daggerfall.
Daggerfall?
Yeah.
Yeah, so each zone essentially is going to have probably its own individual story on why you're doing these things and why you're doing the crafting writs in order to supply, like, maybe you're supplying the Daggerfall army for the battle in the Cyrodiil with these different types of armor and gear, which then would actually make me question, okay, you hit the vet levels, you're in the AD area. Now you're becoming a trader and supplying AD with supplies? Here you go.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd be interesting. See how that was going to work.
Yeah, so we discussed the process of completing the writs. Now the rewards. When I did my writ and I handed in the pieces of cloth, I got some gold. I got a repair kit, yeah, because that's needed, and I got a sash that I just created. The only difference is the sash actually had a trait on it, so maybe you'll be able to get some Nurncrux stuff. Maybe that'd be really cool.
They actually said that on the SL live stream that there would be a higher chance from these different things of getting the Nurncrux.
So that'll be nice.
Oh, that'd be nice.
But I didn't get a survey. Did anybody here get a survey?
That too.
All right, so explain the surveys to people, seeing as how you're all so experienced now.
The surveys are just kind of like treasure maps, except for which, calling it now, at least 2 weeks after this patch comes out, there's going to be an add-on that tracks exactly where it is, just like the treasure maps. But it shows a spot on the map, and you go to that area, and it's going to be for whatever area you're in, where, like, the ones that I had were both in Craiglorn. The first one I had was herbs, which ended up putting me up that river that's right next to Belcroft. I basically went all the way up to there, hopped up on some rocks and got up to that upper level by the lake, and it was right before there. And for each one of the spots of herbs, I got like 6 herbs from each thing I picked, and there was about, I want to say, 15 different things of herbs right there.
Wow.
So it was,
wow.
Good. This is a good chunk of herbs for what I put into making 1 potion. That's all. I picked 3 Nirnroot. I get a lot back. It's kind of, the dailies are kind of a gamble. Like if you get that writ, it's basically compensates for the stuff that you spent. With like the woodworking one, I went and I don't know if it was a glitch, but when I got to the area there, I thought it was going to be just like the other one where it's like all nightwood, but it was, I want to say 8 things of nightwood, 3 things of mahogany, and a thing of ash, all in this one area.
Oh, I like that. That's nice.
And how many points into woodworking did you have?
I maxed in everything except for enchanting.
Okay, so it's I guess it's a random thing and not more of a based off of your skill level. So that's kind of cool.
Well, that's the thing I was wondering is if those mahogany and the ash were actually a glitch, or if it's just like that. It's like you're saying, random. Like I'm guessing the herbs are random because herbs are random, but there was a majority of nightwood, so I was wondering if that is like you get maybe a majority of the main thing that you're at that point, and then some lower level stuff. I don't know.
Maybe it's hard to say how they do. Like I said, I mean, I've only been doing the writs today, so I'll see what they're like tomorrow. But it sounds like the surveys aren't really as rare as they intended, because they told me they told the Guild Summit that they were going to be really rare, and the fact that you got two in the same day.
Yep. Now, this is the first time I actually managed to get on.
Wow.
So hopefully they're going to be a little bit more rarer, because like being able to loot that much stuff is Nightwood's not really an issue. True. But Nightwood isn't an issue. Voidcloth, I mean, that stuff, who doesn't have like 6 stacks of that stuff already? So I'm not really too worried about too much about that, but in terms of like the kudos,
that's what I was hoping was to get one for enchanting. Like that's the one that I'm really curious about is the enchanting one. And also, like, they didn't really explain this, but I wonder if there's one for cooking as well and what that would entail. Like, although I think they said that for that, it's just a purple recipe instead of a regular recipe. I think that's what they said. Instead of writ, you get not writ. One of the maps, you get a purple recipe.
I could go for a purple recipe.
Heck yeah.
Which, maybe you know this, Garbrac. Is the VR10 food next patch? Not this one? Because I remember them mentioning that they were going to be coming out with VR10 food. And I was wondering, like, I didn't see anything in the patch notes.
I thought that was this patch.
Yeah, I thought it was this too. And I was wondering if maybe that's where you get it, is from those cooking dailies. Is it's a random chance in there?
Yeah, maybe.
And if so, then I believe almost every person that's looking for cooking is going to be doing that daily. But I didn't see anything in the patch notes, but I could have sworn I remember them saying it was going to be in this patch, was the VR10 food that was supposed to be coming out.
Yeah, no, I don't see it in this patch, but it
could be in a later build that maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's going to be in a 1.5 something because they have talked about it a lot. And I know the provisioning changes that they want to drop. I could have sworn they said they wanted to do it soon. So
yeah.
And I'm not seeing any of the provisioning.
They're desperately needed.
It'll be nice. I mean, my bags are full. I'm sure everyone else is
I quit collecting them because it's just got so ridiculous. Most of the stuff is in our guild bank now.
So speaking of, like, not really speaking of, but let's jump to a different topic. The VR grind, it's probably one of the worst things in this game. I'm pretty sure we could all agree to that, right?
Agreed.
They got rid of the scorpion grind.
Yeah, the only thing that made it somewhat
Hey, I got
fast.
VR14.
But in terms of trying to help reduce that grindy aspect to the game, they're going to be reducing they're fully removing the fact that you need a special type of experience points in order to level up in veteran. What they're going to do is they're removing that and making it so you actually use full-fledged experience points. And I believe they're using a flat experience points of 1,432,550 experience per veteran rank. So it doesn't matter if you're 13 to 14, you're going to need that same amount. I don't know how I feel about that. It makes sense in the fact that they want to keep things a little bit easier and more of a horizontal progression. But I don't know. I always enjoyed leveling and it progressively getting harder.
Yeah, progressively taking longer.
Yeah, you got to keep in mind too, Garbrac, that they're only keeping that per veteran rank until that champion system comes online. So. So this is going to be one of those interim things that they're going to have to slowly build, because eventually I can see this going to be that 1 point whatever mil for your next champion point, and then that's how you're going to keep gaining all of that, and that way you get that horizontal progression. So right now I think they're just going to implement it as per rank until the champion system comes online, and then you're just going to get your next champion point for the next.
Am I correct in this? When the first what was it? Not the Guild Summit. QuakeCon. When they talked about QuakeCon, about the champion system, if I remember correctly, they said that the rollout of the champion system was going to come out in 3 phases. The first phase was the dungeons and everything. Second phase is actually this. The removal of the XP and the VP and changing it to XP. And then the third was supposed to be the final phase. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, except for fourth is the removal of the veteran altogether.
Right.
Yeah, like there's going to be the next phase would be the transition period where they're both running simultaneously, and then
because we were in this. Yeah, you're right. So the next big update with the champion system will be the overlap of champion system plus vet. I believe, unless they're going to do it like they do patch notes and no one. So this is champion system patch 2. Now we're gonna have patch 2.13.
It's like, oh, you're dragging it out. Just give it to us already.
No, but I mean, I think that's how I view it anyway. I don't, maybe you view it differently or not, but.
And how do you guys feel about that? Like, do you think the increase from 3 to 14 isn't going to feel nearly as significant, or are you okay with that because the champion system is going to come out and basically remove any form of 3 to 14 power difference?
Yeah, I'm totally for it. I mean, I think you're just going to get rid of that grindy feel. Yeah, okay, maybe having it the way it is now, currently in the game live, makes you feel like you're trying to get that next veteran rank, and you got to go higher in XP to get the higher in XP to get. But man, a lot of that is really, really way up there. And without stuff like the Scorpion grind, it just took what to go. I think from VR1 to VR14, someone said it would take something like 28 days if you just did all of the questing and normally and not having kind of something you can grind through.
Took me
It's
about
crazy.
a month. Yeah.
As a casual player, I'm only speaking as a casual player because that's what I am. You know, I only get on the game for maybe 3 or 4 hours a day and then I'm off. But
Yeah, it took me about a month to level, which I think that's one of the things is like, and this happens with almost all MMOs, is as the levels get higher, they try to basically make catch-up mechanics, and this is or reduce XP. They did the same thing in WoW recently with the last patch, where they reduced the XP again, and so it just makes it so you can get to the end content faster. Because in most games, people look for. A lot of people end up going to the end game content like, okay, I'm at the end now. What do I do? And they start going to these things where there. I know there's a lot of people, and like this is one of the few games where I completely enjoy the leveling thing. Where I think my first character took me 2 months to get to max level, where I just was enjoying all the questing, listening to everything, and I just took my time in questing and getting through all the story. My second one went a lot quicker because I knew all the story, so I was like, click, 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 click.
right, and that's going to be the difference between your casual player who's really into the story and want to get through it, or somebody who, like you said, just wants to click through it and grind it, and I want to get to that next level. So, yeah, everybody's going to go through it and get to that next veteran rank level at a different pace. But that's why I like the the horizontal progression system of having each next step is going to be the exact same amount of XP to get, you know, because I'll feel like I'm, you know, making some progress versus everybody else. So granted, yes, people are going to get there faster because they're going to go out there and they're going to do those grinds and they're going to find those little things that they can, you know, slam out that XP a heck of a lot faster than me, but I'm okay with that. So it gives me a chop.
All right, so what about in the terms of horizontal progression? They're reducing the amount of attribute status points that you would have gotten per veteran rank by 35%. So if you would have got 100, you're now getting what, 60, 75, 70, somewhere around that.
65%, I think.
Yeah. So instead of that, you're now getting. So you'll still get 65 points, but you'll also get an attribute. What do you guys think about that? So essentially, an attribute gave you what, plus 10, so you'd basically be jumping up 75 points instead of 100. So you are being reduced, but you are gaining. Technically, at Vet 14, you'll have 62 attributes to spend instead of 49.
I tested it out, and looking at from on live and on the PTS, like I put all my points into, like a lot of people, this is what they do, is they put all their points into health for almost all things, and then they use their glyphs on their armor to modify things. And I believe I actually had less health overall, magicka, and stamina on the PTS than I did on live. Because of that 35% nerf. You have those points, but it's also the 35% nerf where putting those points into the thing actually reduced everything kind of overall, which actually makes things a bit more interesting because, again, you're pulling away from those soft caps then, which with the champion system will eventually be gone, but it adds kind of a bit more dynamic with those additional points where you can use them to fluctuate around the different things. And then you also get the additional skill points, which is just nice overall. It's like, oh god, more skill points, yes! I've been running out.
But do you think that reduced attribute total is going to cause some sort of flack within the community? Because people are going to be like, holy crap, I used to have 2,500 hit points, now I'm only at 2,250?
Tanks, yes. I can foresee it right now with tanks and stuff. They'll be going into dungeon going, hey, I used, like, what was it? There's one of the bosses in one of the raids, I believe, you need to have over a certain amount of hit points, otherwise if you get hit by his build, you automatically die. And if you have to use food and everything to get beyond that point, people are going to be frustrated.
What do you think, Engwar? Do you think it's going to, once people realize the decrease in stats, do you think that's going to cause some sort of kerfuffle?
I think it's going to be a period of adjustment because that's all you're doing is you're just going to have to get used to the adjustment of it's being distributed in other places that you maybe weren't paying attention to before. So.
I don't know. I was a little upset when I logged in. I mean, if you guys aren't gonna say it, I was angry. My heels.
Gimped?
Okay, so they are. They really are.
That's the thing is, like,
on
I
live,
felt
I'm healing for about 960 on my Breath of Life. On PTS, I'm doing like maybe 802, 809. Like
well, that's
it's
the thing. Like, that's what I meant. Like, I got on there and I put the attribute points in my health, and I messed around with the gear. I'm just like, I feel gimped. I don't feel like it doesn't feel like the same character that I have on live right now. It feels like a different character because that's one of the things that was interesting. They mentioned that their character copy, across onto the PTS. They actually copied your entire guild over to there. I was like, oh, Gamebreaker's here. All right.
But how are you gimped if you're getting 62 attribute points versus the 49? If you're still dumping all of those into health, you're going to have more health at 62 than you did at 49. I don't.
Not necessarily. Because of that 35% nerf for each and every single veteran level, it's nerfing all those ones where
Right, but you
10
never
points.
got any at veteran levels before.
no, but you did. So
Did.
let's
What am I
say,
missing?
just for raw numbers, let's say for every vet level you get, you gain 100 attribute point, which I'm pretty sure it actually is. So if
Yeah,
you're
100.
if you're at 1300 magicka and you go up to vet rank 2, you're going to be at 1400 magicka.
Okay.
So they're reducing that by 35%, so you're going to get 65 instead of 100. You add that one attribute of only 10 points, it's only 75 points. You're still 25 points less every level.
I see what you're
Yes.
saying. Okay. Yeah, I missed that.
And because I play a healer, my raw heal comes from pure magicka. Like if I get anything reducing magicka done to me, my heals go through the floor. Like it's huge. I mean, I don't know. I find Veteran Dragon Star. I don't want to say it's too hard. I actually really enjoy it. Like I think it's perfect difficulty.
Have you got down yet, man?
No, we got to the last boss and then the group had to go. But what's going to happen when this 1.5 goes live? Like,
Well, Fastel in chat is saying that it was 10 magicka, 10 stamina, and 15 health per VR level. So if that is the case, I know you get 10 magicka and stamina for each point you put in there. And I think it's 15 health, so that would actually make it so that instead of, like, you got 10 magicka, stamina, and health per VR level, you get to choose which one you want now. You don't get to have all, like, each one move up together.
Yeah, he's right. It's 100 per regular level, not per veteran level. Sorry, yeah, he's right. But even still, that's
that means you get to choose which one you want to move at that point, and you still like I guess you said you feel nerf.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna lose that 15 health every level, which times 4, where 14 is 15, so it's 175 health ish.
Yee. That can be dangerous.
Just then, that was free to me. Like I didn't have to put any points into that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Should we start a petition?
Well, it's a step towards the champion system, right? And we've already said that. And with the champion system, you're going to be able to put your champion points to basically alleviate this problem.
Right.
But until that happens,
it's a problem.
Everything's going to be boosted in difficulty.
You're gonna, like I said, you're gonna have this awkward transition period until the champion system comes online, where we're gonna have to either adjust our gameplay, adjust our armor, our attributes or enchantments or whatever, to try and get us to where we're used to being. And of course, God knows I don't think the champion system is gonna come online until early next year.
Oh, probably no. Yeah, definitely early next year. Yeah, like
Christmas. It's our Christmas present.
No, I can't see that because 1.5 is not going to go live until December, because it's not going to happen. Well,
November.
So there's no patch.
They need to launch it when Draenor comes out for World of Warcraft.
Oh, you're talking about companies don't do that.
Launch it a week after.
They don't. Honest.
Launch it a week after Draenor, because then everyone will be done it.
Right. They would have beaten Draenor by that point. They're looking for something else to do.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm a min-maxer, and I really hate change. I think that's really where I'm coming from. Like, anytime my build changes, it's like, come on, are you serious? I gotta figure something else out. It's
Well,
just
the
like,
thing is, it's not as bad as when they redid all the crafting sets. That was like, people in my guild were like, "Wait, what?" It was a good change, but people were like, "I have to redo my entire gear and everything." It's like, why did you do this?
oh
Like,
yeah,
it's for the better, but it sucked at the same time.
yeah,
Well,
I
what
was in the
about
same boat. I crafted my gear 2 days before the patch notes released, all legendary, and they changed the way Eyes of Mara worked, and I was like, "Oh, you kidding me? That's so many Drowax down the drain."
Well, that's the reason. Like, I was looking at crafting myself another set of gear when that was coming out. I'm like, I'm gonna hold off until the patch notes drop before I craft anything. I'm like, glad I did.
well to play devil's advocate here? I mean, what about stagnation or being stagnant in your build? I mean, if you're a min maxer, you've got everything perfectly tweaked and just the way you like it, and now you don't want to change it up and try something different. You just want
No,
to keep
just give me
that
more
one build
content.
and be that forever, and that's it.
Hey, that's my druid. That's the way I played my druid. From well, no, I removed a couple of abilities since maybe Cataclysm, but I loved my druid. And then when Cataclysm came out, it's like, oh, here's a new ability. And you're like, what? A new one? I need another button. It's just like, oh man, it changes the way I play. And again, I'm a min maxer. I'm a hardcore player. I love the World of Warcraft raids that took weeks to do and spending like 72 hours doing them. That was fun. I enjoyed that. And you have to have a routine. You have to have you should be able to do it in your sleep at that
You have
point.
to have your rotations and everything.
Exactly. And once something changes,
For me, that's
It's-
boring, though. I mean, for me, if I know how to do something like the back of my hand, I can sit there and do an entire raid and like watch a baseball game and not really pay attention.
I've done it.
That just seems boring. You know, I like something that's going to make me think and keep me engaged in the game. And
Well, that's one of the reasons why I love this game is exactly what you're talking about, Engwar, with the abilities. There's so many of them, and some of the buffs that they're doing to like bow and two-handed. Like, I'm thinking of to bring my Sork out of retirement and going, I can actually make my Sork bow build really powerful now. I'm like, believe I can do it easily.
change it
now.
up. Absolutely, change it up. Do something completely different. I mean, it's the people that get to those situations that get stagnant in their builds and just get so that's the game's boring. I'm gonna leave the game. I'm gonna unsub and go do something else.
See, I agree that, and we'll use World of Warcraft for example. It's become stagnant for me. I can't stand the game. I will never go back to the game because nothing's changed. And I know I just said I hate change.
I was gonna say you're
But
contradicting yourself.
no,
here.
no, no. Let me finish. Let me finish. I don't want my character to change. I want the game to change around my character, and I know that's a failed
It all
viewpoint.
revolves around you, Garbrac. I
But-
see.
What I would like to see is I would like to see boss mechanics change up instead of just standing in red circles. Where I mean, World of Warcraft is a really bad example because nothing in the game ever changes. They'll throw in the odd ability, which will drive me nuts, but the boss and the end game is all the same. It's the same as it was vanilla. It's the same as it is now. Different names, more health points. That's really all that's changed.
Mhm.
And I think the builds that characters create and players create should always stay the same. And the content, the game that they produce is what should change and make the player think and try to use those abilities in different ways.
Well,
But
I
the
ask
abilities
you-
themselves still act the same.
I ask you this then, Garbrac, is WoW's been out for, was it almost 10 years now? So they have all these different raids with
Mhm.
all these different mechanics. So like you're saying, the stuff seems stagnant because it's being reused. Will ESO ever get to that same point where everything's being reused, where it becomes, ESO eventually maybe become a gear grind, where they're reusing the same mechanics of the bosses? Like, it can happen to almost any MMO where it becomes a gear grind, and you see the same things over and over. You're like, oh, great, it's Onyxia again. Oh, great, it's AA again.
And I mean, we can't really comment on ESO because it is so new. And
Yes.
as of now, almost every content they've released in terms of doing something as a group has been different. I mean, take a look at the difference between AA and Serpent. The difference, and take a look at the four-man Dragon Star. I mean, those types of mechanics aren't used in other games. You don't see, well, they are in some certain games, but not often. I mean, Dragon Star uses environmental areas to try and fool you up, and you can use those environmental areas on the enemies, and it just definitely changes the way we look at a game. And I think Elder Scrolls doesn't get a lot of credit for that because we're so used to, oh, don't stand in the red circles, and that's grained into our head.
Yeah.
But if they stay on the path that they're on, I don't think it'll become mundane because they seem to try to take, oh, let's do that, but let's add this to it as well. And that's all.
Well, that's one of the things I love about some of the raids is it's not don't stay in the red circle. At times it's you can't get out of the red circle. You have to block, try to mitigate this damage, dodge, roll out, break, CC break. Where there's multiple, there's not one solution to the problem. There's multiple solutions to the problem, and you can figure out different ways. Like first time we were ever in the raid, we were on the first boss, and they were told, okay, you had to stack these heals and stack these rotating bubbles. We failed horribly. Then we found annulment and started using that. Like I think 6 people were using that because we were talking about it, and 6 people decided to try it. We 6-manned the first boss because they were taking really no damage from one person every once in a while dropping a thing, and then the rest of the group using annulment. It was a variation to all of a sudden, hey, this works. And it's one of those things of figuring out these different little tweaks that get these fights down that makes, I would say, a lot of the raids really interesting, really enjoyable here in ESO.
You're nodding your head over there, Engwar. What are you thinking?
No, I some of what Lumi was talking about, I kind of agree with. I think it's very good points.
So, I don't know. Maybe, like, again, it's hard to say because I think I have a completely different viewpoint than both of you. I mean, Engwar, you say you're a filthy casual. Lumi, you're still learning how to play.
Oh, thanks.
One of the hot button topic that's come up, and it falls into this really, really well, is the Elder Scrolls Online slowly pushing itself into a more hardcore environment. In terms of when the game was first being published and being announced, they were talking about, okay, well, one, you're not going to have giant raid bosses. That's not Elder Scrolls. We have giant raid bosses. I'm sorry, if you haven't been in these dungeons, these fricker bastards are huge. So they're in the game. They also said that the best gear is going to come from crafted players, which I think was a key selling point because there's not many games that focus solely on the crafter. And if you look at the recent patches, a lot of the best gear is coming from drops in groups and dungeons. And I mean, you have your ability altering weapons. You're getting really high-end statted gear, not really statted, but set item gear that doesn't really meet the requirements of what a crafter can make. I mean, take a look at Footman. If you're a tank, you have to have Footman. There is no crafted set that is relatively comparable to Footman. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that they're slowly pushing into a gear grind aspect of the game versus trying to keep it casual? And is that good or bad?
It definitely feels like they're progressing in towards a gear grind, especially also with what we've seen in the next patch. We have the Undaunted dailies and some of the armors you can get from there. I have yet to confirm because I want to try to get a group this week to go and do some of the dailies and try to get gold, but I believe they said that there was supposed to be legendary gear that you can get from the gold chest. And so at that point, again, the crafter becomes obsolete because it's already legendary, it's already got the set bonus, it's got everything you need for doing this hard difficulty mode daily. And same for they are modifying Dragonstar Arena, where the VR14 and some of the best sets in the ability altering enchants will be from the last bosses in that DSA, which is some of the toughest content out there right next to Sanctum Ophidium, which you cannot craft those enchants. You can only get them from that one section. And so if you want that really nice ability altering enchant, which, like the Grand Healing one, makes it so that you restore stamina to the area and increases your max magicka, which you're just saying, like, you're gimped for magicka. Well, now that one looks really nice to you because it brings back up your magicka. And so you, like, go, I need to get into that. I need that now. And I see Engwar making a face.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. He's got something thrown in his head.
I think all of the gear grinding, loving whatchamacallits from other various MMOs infiltrated and trolled our forums, and the stupid Zenimax heads over there listened to them. They fell for the bait.
Well,
So you agree that it seems like they're kind of pushing towards a gear grind aspect.
Yeah, having
you guys were disagreeing with me yesterday.
well, having seen the new stuff coming online and hearing your points about it, yeah, I can see your points in that you're going to have to do these and get these drops to be the best gear in the game. But if you're content with the high-end crafting gear sets, and there are a lot of them, I mean, just because you got to have footmen to be the best tank in the game doesn't mean that the best crafting tank set right below that isn't comparable if you're a damn good tank in the first place. So,
good tank or not, a good tank is going to make up for that added 2% avoidance. Doesn't matter how good you are, someone with a 2% advantage in avoidance is going to be a better tank.
One of the things that, as I was looking at, which I called this when they introduced the Nirncrux trait, was that there was going to be a 9-trait set. What they could do is, kind of what they're doing right now is come up with these nice ability. Like, the only thing that I can't see them really doing is doing a way to create these ability enchants, but at least for the weapons and like the armor. Okay, they come up with these nice sets that you can only get from the dungeons. Well, they can start adding more also additional sets like in between, like back and forth. Like, okay, this dungeon has a nice set. Okay, now you can craft this nice set that's basically almost exactly comparable to that set that you were able to do, and keep on alternating back and forth so it does not become stagnant. Like, crafting still is viable constantly for progressing things forward. Like the new Twice Born, I believe it was, set that's coming out. Although, like, you'll be able to activate 2 mana stones simultaneously. It's nice, but it's still not up to par with some of the other sets.
I don't think that this game is gonna get to the level of players to where, well, you don't have a footman set, sorry, you can't come and group with us. I don't think it's going to get to that level. I think really good crafted legendary gear is still going to be close enough to where you're going to be viable in a good group no matter what you're running. So I don't think we're going to get to the point. I think that, and we'll use
if
WoW
you don't
as
have the
example.
footman set, Engwar, you cannot come into my raid group.
That's
right, I'm calling it right now.
I don't think it's going to be like that. And honestly, if it does get to that level, I don't want to play with people like that.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. I always like to have a good time when we're raiding, mess around. Like, as long as you have gear on and not stand there butt naked, and it's actually gear that makes sense. Like, okay, I'm a tank. I'm going to be wearing all light armor. It's like, well, there are some aspects for that, but it's like most times it's good to wear heavy.
Now, Engwar, you were talking that you don't think the game is at that stage yet, and I have to disagree. I mean, maybe not in pugs, but you don't see pugs doing serpent. Like, it's just not going to happen for a while. But there's guilds doing it. Why? Because their tanks require footmen. I mean, it does seem like Elder Scrolls is kind of requiring people to require this specific gear, and like we mentioned in episode 1, we talked about the champion system and how there's a pie chart, or basically think of it as a pie. 18% of your armor is going to come from your base armor. So obviously, if you're wearing heavy armor, you're going to hit that 18%. Right. No more are we going to be able to substitute, okay, well, instead of me getting my crit from this piece of gear, I'm going to get from something else. Well, you have to now. You have to get it from this spot. There is no more substituting. They're trying to eliminate the fact that light armor tanks are more or are better tanks than heavy armor tanks right now. That's what they want to get away from, because that just makes absolutely no sense. How can a light armor person... But how can a light armor tank take more damage and have more avoidance and more mitigation than a heavy armor tank? Base hits, a heavy armor tank should be better.
Well, let me flip that a little bit towards you, Garbrac. Are you gonna tell me that I'm a tank, you're a tank, you're wearing footman gear, I'm wearing the best crafted, second to best other than footman gear that I can play, that if I can get through the trial, or I can get through the serpent, or whatever it is, maybe not as good as you, or maybe not as fast as you, am I still not a viable player? Am I still not allowed to come along and do these types of raids?
I never said viable. I just said there's the guilds that have completed it are the ones that have these set pieces of requirements.
And that's their preference. It's their preference to bring people along to have these specific setted gear.
But you won't find a pug that can do it, though.
Well,
like,
I'm not concerned about
so
that.
my question comes to you is this: if you can't pug it, is it too hard?
Well, that's what I was going to actually ask was with Sanctum Ophidium. This is where, like AA and Hellrod, people don't really care too much about what you wear because the things are so easy. It's coming down to what we discussed last week with Sanctum Ophidium and how they went, AA and Hellrod were pretty easy. How much should we crank this up? 1,000% sounds good. Where guilds are just like, what the fuck happened? And it's causing so many, like, people are just freaking out about it. And it's causing exactly what we're getting into, where people, a lot of these high-end guilds that are hardcore and rated are like, you need this, this, and this. We need to be on top of everything. You need to pop your pots, like pre-potting and stuff like that. It's coming, exactly what was in WoW is coming into ESO, where pre-potting, different things where you need to do these things.
Yeah, but it's their choice to run it like that. Personally, I mean, I don't see our guild getting to that point. I mean, if we can give enough people that have got decent enough gear to go out there, and as long as we can complete
all at the same time, come on, people. If you guys
as
want
long
to get on.
What if you can't complete it? Is another question to play devil's advocate. What if you can't complete it? What do you do then?
Absolutely.
Do you put those rules into place?
Then I think you just reassess of, okay, where are we losing it? What's the mechanic that's kicking our butt every time? How can we improve ourselves? Yeah, if it means maybe getting the slotted gear, that's fine. But I wouldn't make it as a mandate or a requirement.
Well, like I was saying earlier, there's a way around almost any boss mechanic that I've noticed in these things, where, to use the phrase, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and which is I've never liked that statement for some reason because I have a couple cats, but yeah,
you sadistic bastard.
But there's more than one way to do the mechanics of the thing. That's why I actually would love to get a group to get into Sanctum Ophidium and test different strategies, because I will admit I am not the best CPS. I'm not the best heals. I'm not the best tank. I am a very good strategist where I look at the overall picture and I'll look at the mechanics and the different things that each class can bring. When I used to lead raids in WoW, I leveled one up of each and every single class to max level so I could understand what each and every single class brought to the fights to understand what was going on.
Yeah, and I like Tobrin's point, man. You figure out, where you're weak and help those that need improvement. It makes.
See, I read that, and you don't want to know what popped in my head? And it's got to be
casual.
It's a little bit, but it's the elitist is in me. I mean, when I read that, I was like, okay, so help the weak. Okay, help the weak. Get them footmen. There's your problem. Like, that's what went through my head. It's like, okay, well, put footmen on. You'll get your avoidance. Like, I don't know.
But here's the thing: can gear make up for skill? You can put, and I've encountered this in WoW where we had a guy that had all full. He had the legendary weapon and heroic gear. He died 5 times on the boss, and we're just like, leave him dead. Like,
I completely agree. Gear does not make skill. It's World of Warcraft's prime example. I know so many idiots out there that have like the best gear, and it's not because they're good. They just have 24 other people that can pull this guy through. Like,
and that's one of the things is I believe more in, instead of getting the people the gear, like you can get the people the gear, but teaching them the mechanics of the fight, taking them aside and going, okay, what can I do to improve you? What can I do to work with you in order to get you up to what needs to be done? Like, for some people, I will admit, it takes longer. Like, I actually, pug has always been a bad word for a lot of people, and that's why I've been trying to use it as potentially untrained good people, where pugs are people that you have to get a chance to actually sit down and talk with them and like explain what's going on and help bring them along, instead of just, oh, it's a pug.
No,
it's got the little face that's giving you that funny look.
I'm gonna quote Bill Murphy here. Don't let a good pug get you down, but he's wrong. There is no such thing. Pugs are bad. Like there's no. If you're pugging something, expect it to go wrong.
But can you find those few people in that pug that are good? That's the question.
It's rare. There are people that are in pugs that are good. Specifically, me when I'm pugging.
And that's why, like, 1 week I spent over 150 wipes of Megara in WoW, and I got to meet all these different people that were doing different things, so that. Pug is pickup group, Radrock. But I spent 150 wipes, but I got to know all these different people and you get to understand them. And I actually was working with a lot of these different guilds on the fight, going over the different stuff that to learn the mechanics, whereas explaining things and getting to know these people and helping them out. It sucked like hell. Luckily, I had the dagger so I could kill myself every time we wiped, so I didn't take a repair bill. But I was in there for basically the entire week, and I never got the trinket.
So, just on the topic of pugs, since we're discussing this, Elder Scrolls Online seems to be very pug friendly. Like they want people to pug. Like it's their way of trying to get people to be social and try and make online friends. And
the grouping system more.
That's happening in 1.5.
I know.
But the Enclave dailies can only be done once. Now, there's this discussion on the forums, not our forums, but the official forums, that some people feel that this is elitism. ZeniMax is restricting people to do the Enclaves more than once in order to keep people playing and trying to achieve that gear grind. Now, like you said, when you do the Enclave, you have a chance to get in the shoulders, which is the second part of the two-piece set that you get for doing these dungeons. Do you guys agree that this again, we're going back to, is the Elder Scrolls Online turning into a gear grind? Do you guys see the Enclave dailies as a gear grind? And on top of that, do you think it's a pug-friendly idea? Are pugs going to be able to do these?
I actually liked one of the aspects of it because, and they talked about this on SO Live for their podcast. You can do 2 per day, the low level one and the vet one. Well, my idea for the lower level one is, hey, okay, like the one I picked up on the PTS was Crypt of Hearts. Any guildie low level need Crypt of Hearts? Okay, invite me to your group. It's scaled down to him. All right, I'll run you through. I get credit. I get a silver key. He gets a free dungeon run for the things that he needs. And also, he can also pick up the daily, and he can get it done. And so, basically, it's helping the guild and as a pug, and still helping me as a high level at the same time. He'll get gear around his level. I'll get something around my level, and it's building that sense of community. Whereas the vet one, yeah, that's going to be something different. But as for the low level, I believe it's a really nice thing where it's getting the high level and the low level people, unless they want to do it as a tough challenge as a high level, it's the two sides to work together. And that's how I was at least going to do it when it came out. Was I was always going to offer first to any guildies that are low level, hey, if you need this, I'll run you through right off the bat right now. I need my daily.
No, that's a good point. I think it's going to be. I think it's viable for both situations for running with a pug, at least the lower level dungeon. I think veteran dungeon is going to require a little bit more coordination, a little bit more understanding of the people that you're with and how they play, and running it as a guild event. I think that's. I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is, like, I haven't seen the daily yet, but they did mention that there was supposed to be like potentially a timed one, and that's where it's going to come down to more of like you're talking about Garbrac with the elitist thing, where in order to do the best, you must have these different things. In order to get the best time in there, you must have these spec this rotation in order to get it down.
But what do you guys think? Do you think that the veteran one, the one that actually has the good gear attached to it, should they be allowed to do them more than once? Or do you think keeping it once a day isn't a gear grind?
Well,
I don't think once a day is a gear grind at all. Not at all.
It's kind of the same thing that you can run into with what's actually, I've known some people in AA and Hellraw that's going on is, okay, the best gear is out there and also Vet DSA. The best gear is out of those places. Okay, we're going to run it until our face is blue and burn ourselves out. Oh crap, I'm burned out. I'm taking a break from the game. And they quit the game for a while. You need to find that balance, which this is actually one of the things that I worried when SO came out and was discussing these raids is you can run the raids over and over and over again. They're fun, they're interesting to get the gear, but it can also cause burnout if you're doing the same thing over and over, where I believe by being able to have it do it once a day actually staggers it out more and gives it more of a feeling where it gives you more of that freedom to do the different things that are going on from the limitations. Where also the other thing is looking at, because I'm pretty sure that they're buying an account, but a lot of these people that are these elitists, that's what they would do as soon as this patch hit, is they'd sit there and just grind those things over and over and over again until they get those max level sets. And so that's all you'll be seeing them doing is, I think that ESO wants them to spread out themselves, be able to enjoy the content more over time instead of sitting there for 3 days straight until you get all the pieces you need.
And it's only going to be a gear grind if you let it be a gear grind. I mean, if we haven't really, I don't know, I haven't seen any of the stats on the Undaunted gear at all yet, but if that gear is going to be at the must-have level in order to complete any other kind of content gear, then for those that want that carrot, yeah, it's going to be one hell of a grind. But for those of us, probably like myself, who maybe just want the gear because it looks cool, I'm not going to go out there and burn myself out day after day after day just to get it. It's just going to be one of those extra things that I can do in the game to bide my time if I don't feel like doing something else.
Well, actually, when I did the Undaunted, like just the first one for the bronze key, I got one of the set pieces today from one of the chests, like just one of their base ones. I don't think it's one of the boss ones. And it's actually, they're pretty nice set bonuses. The one was, I believe once you drop below 80% health, you get, this was a green, 1,135 shield on you for 15 seconds. And it can proc, I think it said every 30 seconds, which as a tank is not bad.
Well, yeah, I know there's the Dwemer one that spawns a little Dwemer robot, which randomly it procs off of anything you do, and it'll proc one of 3 Dwemer robots. One that'll do health, restore your health, your magicka, or your stamina. I mean, that's a pretty much given for a tank. If you don't have it, you're at a severe disadvantage. Now, Engwar, you're a casual. You don't play every single day for 7 hours a day.
I freely admit I'm a dirty casual.
With it only being limited to once a day, though, if you don't log in one day, you just lost that advantage. You don't. You're
missing my point, though. It's not going to be that imperative that I have it, though. It's going to be one of those things that I can do at a whim if I feel like doing it. It's not a necessity for people like me. That's the difference between you and I.
I don't like you now.
But the thing is, also, Garbrac, is, okay, you're saying that if he can't do it constantly, if he's gone for one day, he's going to lose it. But also, that means if everyone else is limited to the one day thing as well, he's not going to fall that far behind where if he can't sit there for 3 days straight and grind like some of these other people that aren't working right now and just sitting there playing the game constantly, where they get all the stuff right off the bat. And he's like, well, I can play for maybe an hour today, but I also got other stuff I got to do. And so he's going to mass more behind, I believe, that way than he would if he's doing it once per day and misses a day.
And if it's a random, and I don't know this yet, but if it's a random chance when you unlock that chest to getting that piece, am I really going to be missing something if I don't do it on a day? Maybe I just missed the random roll. I didn't get anything that day. Who knows?
See, I don't know. I have to log when dailies come out, when these crafting wits come out, when these Undaunted enclaves come out. I am logging in every 20 hours just to do them because I want those items.
And that's how they get your money.
And I don't know how you can sit there and go, I missed it today. It's like, what do you mean you missed it today?
Oh God. Well, it's just kind of like, I will admit, I used to be like, on time. Okay, research. I haven't done research for a while. I'm like, I need to get back into that group of the researches because those ones do take a while. 28 days for the final research is like, oh God.
I mean, to put on my resident, old timer hat here, that's the difference between playing a game as a hobby or, oh my God, if I don't do this, my life's going to end.
No, see, my life's not going to end, but I'm going to just be sitting at McDonald's or a restaurant that I'm sitting at going, I could be at home doing this thing, and then I could be back here. It'd only take me 15 minutes. I can do it. I can do it. I'm going to go home and do it. I'm going to go home and do it, and then I'm going to come back and eat.
That means it's controlling your life.
It's OCD in a way. It's just I have to do it. Like the only reason I would. But the only reason I would ever go back to World of Warcraft is because it's new and I have to know it. Like, I'm the type of person that plays a character to the point where I can do it in my sleep. Like, my Templar, I can tell you what stats are on his gear. I can tell you how he attributed his points. I can tell you everything that's on my bars.
How would you attribute his points?
He's 25 and something. I don't care about health. He's
I know
25,
what
just
you're
to be
talking
just
about.
below soft cap.
Garbrac, because like in WoW, I did it all the time where I had 11 alts on Mal'Ganis when I was raiding on there, and all 11 of them had a farm up and running. Every day I would hop on there and run the farm in order to build mats and get things so I could have potions, food, and everything for the entire guild as I was running these different things. And I plan to do the same thing probably in ESO, where I'll probably be hopping on all my alts and doing at least the very least the crafting writs on all of them, so I can level their professions and get to those hirelings and everything going. But I don't, that's each person's choice individually. That's one of the things is, I believe by having the things once per day, it gives more freedom to that choice where you don't feel like you're going to fall that far behind if you do it that way.
All right, well, I don't know. I could argue elitism till I'm blue in the face. So
But don't get me wrong, Garbrac. I totally get your points. I totally understand 100% where you're coming from.
I just don't understand how you can sit there and go, "Well, I missed it today." It's just how can you sit there and say that? So my question, I want to ask one more question in terms of pugs, and I don't want to say elitism, but I guess the hardcore aspect. When it comes to the Elder Scrolls Online, I mean, we can all agree that it does seem like it's pushing a little bit more towards the hardcore aspect of it. When it comes to them releasing content, I mean, if we look at Sanctum, it's pretty damn hard. Only a few guilds have finished it. Should they be doing it? Should they be scaling it to the average player, which in Elder Scrolls Online is a pug? I mean, it's the groups that pug, because majority of it isn't guild groups. If you look at the list, it's never the same people all the time, except for the top like 5 guilds. So what do you guys think? Should they be downscaling the content so it's easier for example, Engwar? Like, no offense, Engwar, I don't see you doing Sanctum anytime soon.
No offense taken, brother, because you're absolutely right.
Well, first he has to get the VR14, and that.
Well, yes.
It took me 4 months just to get to level 50.
That's because you were gone for 4 months.
But collectively, it took me 4 months to get to level.
But what do you guys think? Like, would you find Elder Scrolls more appealing to you, Engwar, if it was scaled slightly easier? Like, do you?
I guess it would appealing in the sense that I'd be able to hang out with you guys, okay, and do stuff like you guys. Like, I see the stuff in the chat and people asking for volunteers to help go run these trials or help run these upper crag dungeons. Yeah, I kind of feel left out. Sure, I'm a little bit behind on that aspect, but I'm not going to go sit in the corner and sulk about it. Absolutely not.
Well, one of the things is they mentioned also on the SO Live was they talked about that they're potentially going to do that. They're actually looking to building it right now, individual Dragonstar Arena, which sounds interesting, but at the same time, that's probably going to become a hardcore thing again. Like, a lot of these things, at least from this last patch, was they ramped up the difficulty ever since the first 2 raids, which were easy, and they just keep on seeming to be progressively ramping up the difficulty, going, people want hardcore stuff, like, this was too easy, so we're just going to keep on throwing out at them. That's one of the reasons why, to see how this progression is going, I want to get a group on the PTS and test out Veteran City of Ash. Like, see how tough that actually is, if they're continuing with this mentality of, oh god, things are getting real, oh god, or if they're keeping it down to, like, the vet dungeons are still, okay, this is difficult, but this is still doable. We can do a pug, have a good time, and we can enjoy the stuff. We don't have to be as, like you're saying, at times elitist.
You're over there nodding or shaking. I'm not sure which one.
I'll just keep my head in a circle.
No, yeah, I guess I kind of see your point, but I just it doesn't get under my skin as much as other players. I know I'm not going to be heartbroken, I guess.
So, just out of curiosity, this is going to lead into my next question. And again, I'm focusing on you, Engwar, because I know you're the casual, and this is what Elder Scrolls is kind of aimed at. Ideally, they aimed it towards you.
Yep.
How do you to go back to? Actually, before we even get to that, let me ask you one question. When you complete a dungeon as a casual player, or you finally get a piece of gear that you thought you wanted, or something, or whatever. You finally get something that you've been trying to strive for. Do you feel accomplished? Do you feel like, okay, I finally did it. This is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Sure.
so
I'm human.
now my question. So you like the idea of being accomplished. When the Elder Scrolls first came out, the best gear you could get was crafted. So in a way, the way Elder Scrolls is right now, crafted gear is handed to you. There's absolutely nothing difficult about getting top-end crafted gear. Would you agree, other than the weight and traits?
I have a very great sense of accomplishment when I reach the next level of my crafting and be able to craft my own gear. Yeah.
But that aside, do you still feel accomplished when you are given the best piece of gear? I mean, crafting in the Elder Scrolls Online, don't get me wrong, is not a difficult thing.
No.
So do you still feel accomplished
no.
when you get your when you finally hit vet 14 and you craft your legendary robe or jerkin or breastplate? Do you still feel that same accomplishment as if you were to do a dungeon and down that boss and get that epic piece of gear?
I guess in the literal sense, no. But if I'm the one that got myself to that point to where I could craft it, that's a different sense of accomplishment for me than me having it handed to me by somebody else, I guess.
One of the things that, like, crafting the gear as the white isn't the difficult part. A lot of times the difficult part is finding these kudas, the rosins, the... Crap, I can't remember the one for clothing, but these things in order to make the legendary, and that's when, like, a lot of times it'll feel like this accomplishment is when you go upgrade it all the way to legendary and have these pieces, like, I can finally craft this epic set, this legendary set that is, this is going to be awesome stuff. I'm going to have those abilities, like, especially all those legendary glyphs. It's like, all right, I got a legendary glyph on my gear, so this is going to be awesome. I'm going to wreck this place.
I don't know. Like, I mean, again, I have a completely different outlook than both of you. I have the best gear that I can get right now, and I had it the day the patch came out. Well, when I hit V14, sorry. So I had it before. Like, everything I do in DSA, it's useless to me. I mean, I do it because it's fun. I do it because I get to play with people. I do it because I want to be social. But I lost, and this goes for all of the Elder Scrolls Online, at least for me. I lost the excitement of downing a boss and going, oh, come on, please, 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 damn it, and doing it again. I mean, now it is strictly a social game for me, and I love the Elder Scrolls Online. I love everything that they do, but there's aspects of it that don't appeal to me, and it's become nothing but a social game, and I just...
And that's bad because
It's one of the
there's
biggest
that
social
sense of
games out there,
accomplishment
and look how well it's been doing. That's what things is, like, when we first launched GameBreaker in here, there was a lot of people that left early on, but over as I've been continuing to work with the guild and run it, I keep on seeing people come back because it's exactly like you said. It's become a very social game where people love it, they love the community, and they just keep on coming back. Like Engwar, he quit for 4 months. He came back. Like, these people just keep on coming back to the game going, I like this game. I like this community. I like the different social aspects of it. Yes, I agree. Like, it would be fun to have. That's one of the reasons why I believe they put in the DSA and stuff like that, was for that challenging thing and go, oh, that loot stuff at the end, which I believe with the Undaunted dailies, it'll bring a bit of that back, as you're saying, where you're going to be at the end boss, which I think they said is like a 2% drop chance for the helm off the boss that are going to be doing that.
I just think, senses of accomplishment is going to be different for, each individual person. Obviously, for you to feel accomplished in putting your, sinking your precious time into playing this game requires you to, get something out of what you just did. For me, my accomplishment is, oh, wow, look, I got another vampire rank or something minuscule of that nature. So it's individual, man. That's all I'm saying.
It completely is. It 100% is. And my view on MMOs is a player wants something back for its time. I mean, obviously you're not going to spend money and put your time investment into this to get nothing in return. And I guess it is, like you said, it's an individual look upon it.
Yep.
I mean, my return is being able to say, you know what, I down that boss, I have the gear, look at me, I'm a badass. And the only reason I played World of Warcraft was because I had so many friends in it. And once they brought out Looking for Raid, I lost all interest in the game other than to play with friends. Because my sense of accomplishment went from here to Glue Eater version, where anybody who eats paste is able to look the exact same way as me.
Oh, I got it rock.
And again, maybe it is strictly just my outlook, and I am baffled by the fact that I'm the only one that thinks like this.
Someone would say maybe you'll find more satisfaction from PvP in chat.
I love PvP, other than the fact it's a little unbalanced right now. I don't know. I'm just... So, are you... Well, this is the final question. Are you against the Elder Scrolls pushing towards hardcore? Or at least their path they're on right now. So 6 months from now, if they stay on this path, will you still enjoy this game?
Absolutely. And I'm not that I'm against it. It's just that, okay, if they're going to go in that direction, then that's just a direction that I am not going to be. That's the carrot I'm not going to chase. So if people that play this game feel that that type of gameplay is necessary to keep their interest, to keep the feeling that the $15 a month that they're paying to play this game is worth it, by all means, chase the carrot. Go for it. For me, I don't care if it's in the game or not in the game, because I know what I like about this game, and I'm going to play it, those aspects of the game, to give me my sense of accomplishment. Yeah, I'm going to be here 6 months from now, absolutely. No matter what they do in the game.
What I'm hoping is they find a way to balance the two, which it looks like they're trying to work on. That's like I was saying, I want to get in test of City of Ash, is to see if like it's not as insane as Vet DSA and Sanctum Ophidium, and so they're trying to maintain that balance. And I believe was it last show where I mentioned maybe they're going to do where they'll have like the two Hellraws and AA where they'll have the easy raids, and then they'll keep on coming out with like afterwards one of these big tough ones like Sanctum Ophidium where everyone's going, oh crap, now we need to really focus, like alternate between the easy and the tough, so you have those things, and then just keep on having the loot out there where it keeps the things interesting for both sides. Where with almost every good game, this game already has a good social aspect. Now it's good finding the balance between the hardcore and, as you like to call them, us filthy casuals at times.
Hey, let me make a statement. Let me word it this way, and maybe you'll understand what I'm talking about just slightly. My end game for me is not the best gear in the game, not the dungeons, not the trials. My end game for ESO is that awesome fucking world v world, or realm versus realm, A versus A, whatever you want to coin it. That's my end game. That's
Cyrodiil.
what gets me excited. Yeah, Cyrodiil. That's what I get freaking pumped up for, man. That's my end game for me. It's not the rating. I'm not a raider. There, I said it. Does that make any sense? Do you understand what I'm saying?
It makes sense.
Understand the words coming out of my mouth?
No, I completely understand. And I mean, Ixter says that Garbrac needs EverQuest style death grinds, 120 hours. And I don't. At least I don't.
No food
I don't
or
want to
happiness.
believe I do, because, like I said, I really enjoy the Elder Scrolls Online. I just don't think there is a sense of accomplishment in the sense that your time investment. I mean, I've invested since.
I don't know, man. A 3-hour keep take, busting those walls down and coming up right behind their butt and annihilating.
You weren't there for
hell
the
of a sense of
5-hour siege on
accomplishment, man.
Hadris for.
But you
like,
can't
just
prove
people
it.
that Line
There's
for
nothing
5
to
What do I need to prove? I was there. I don't need to prove it to anybody but me.
AD
All
can
right,
prove on
yeah.
Hadris that we were there for 5 hours holding the
All
line
right,
until we took
all
the
right.
keep.
Let's jump to our last topic. One of the issues that I think ZeniMax has, and it seems to be their policy, is the way they release their patch notes. Typically, their patch notes are released on par with the way, or on par with the time they actually allow you to download the patch. And some cases, it's an hour after the servers go up. I want to know what your guys' take on that aspect. Like, do you guys think that's a proper way to do? I don't want to say to do business, because I mean, none of us are business majors. We're just blowing our smoke out of people's asses right now. But what do you guys think as players of this like investors essentially in this company. Do you think this is a good way to do it? Like, should they release the patch notes a day before, the day of, a week after? Like, what do you guys think?
Well, I've technically always kind of liked how WoW does it. It's like simultaneously as the patch is downloading, you can look over the notes. So that's because I've just gotten used to that. So that's kind of how I like it, where the patch notes are there as you're downloading the thing, so you can have a chance to look at it. Just makes things easy. So like as you're getting excited about the thing, you're like looking at the patch notes. Ooh, that. Ooh, that. Ooh, that. Okay, come on, it's done. Download it. No, crap. Okay, more reading.
World of Warcraft, at least if I remember correctly, it has been a while since I've played. They did release their patch notes prior to actually releasing the patch, though.
They released like a rough draft at times.
Yeah, and Elder Scrolls doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
Did
like
they release
it'd
it, or was it leaked?
No, they would release it. They would say, okay, this is what's coming up in patch 1.46 or whatever.
Yeah, they would release like a bit of it, but there would usually be a couple of tweaks, just kind of like ESO. There's more tweaks. Like they're releasing the PTS patch notes. That's what I'm always like. I'm posting up on our GameBreaker forums for the different things so that we can have that information on hand, and like you can know from the PTS things that there's only going to be slight changes from the live. And that's one of the things is more of like the bummer part is more of these PTS patches where you're sitting going, okay, come on, what's coming out? What's coming out? It's like because you actually have no clue. Where the actual patches, you have the PTS notes to look at and go, okay, I have a good concept and understanding what's actually coming.
But the PTS notes only show the big ones. I mean, for example, we're on patch 1.5. We had patch 1.4, which we knew ahead of time. But patch 1.41, 1.42, 1.43, 1.44, 1.45, we didn't know until literally the day of or as soon as the download finished.
Great. Big deal. I mean, what advantage are you going to gain by reading these patch notes a day ahead of time?
Oh, I'm not against it. I'm just, this was a
Yeah, no, I
rant
understand.
on the official forums. I'm just curious to see.
Yeah, no, I read the rant on the forums and I was just laughing through the whole read. I'm just like, why do you people care about knowing what's coming out a day at a time? For me, the patch notes are just something I read while I'm waiting for my damn game to patch.
Well, one of the things is
Just
I can
bide
actually
my time.
see, like it's an argument that I've had times had with myself where this is one of the things like I liked WoW where I'm looking over the patch notes and getting an idea and the concept of, okay, this has changed, this has changed, this has changed. I'm like, okay, setting up a game plan. I'm going to go into this and start doing this, 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 and this, where that's where it kind of comes in handy where it's like, okay, if I have the information beforehand, I can go into it when it's done patching and go, I got a game plan and this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to go do the things.
Yeah. I don't know. They're not that important to me. I like just reading them as my game is patching, I guess.
Half the time I actually like not reading them and just going, what's going on? Oh, crap. What the hell happened?
I was just curious because, I mean, obviously some people want to know what's going to be happening to the game so they can make plans or try and figure something out. But I just wanted to know your guys' input because, like I said, there was a massive rant on the official forums, and like I've said this before. I feel so bad for Jessica and Gina. They get like
I know.
they get so much hate and rage on that forums. I'm surprised they have.
Why?
Like.
Hey.
People post on those forums and be like, "Oh, Jessica and Gina, you guys suck," and they're all like, they're probably just sitting there going, "I have no control over what the hell's going on. Like, all I do is post and answer questions."
Hey, trolls are gonna troll, man.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, their jobs suck, so they're the figureheads.
Anything when you're public relations sucks usually.
Well, yeah, but I mean. That's all I got for this week. I mean, we've been going for just over an hour-ish.
Hour and a half.
Hour and a half? That's ish. Do you guys have anything you want to comment before we close up on patch 1.5?
No.
Well, the stuff that we know of patch 1.5 right now, there's stuff we got to test further so we can have more information. Like, hopefully we'll have information on the Veteran City of Ash next week.
Oh, yeah.
To be continued, yeah.
Maybe even some video.
Ooh, what?
So, like I said, guys, that's our show for this week. Before we end off the show, we're going to do our shameless plugs as we did last week. So we'll start off to the gentleman to my left, Mr. LumiTheLock.
Hey!
LumiTheLock, yes, I am.
Stop it.
Oh, sorry.
I guess I'm apparently supposed to stop that. But, yep, I'm the GM of GameBreaker Nation in Elder Scrolls Online. We're actually currently working on building an alliance called the United Knights of Nern. If there's anybody interested in either joining GameBreaker Nation or interested in their guild potentially joining the alliance, please contact me in game at LumiTheLock, and we can sit down and talk or have a good time. Stuff, but yeah, if you guys believe we'll be running in Thornblade on Friday for PvP too. If you guys want to join us, it may switch. We pop around for different campaigns, whatever one's good for hitting at the time. And back to you, Garbrac.
Yeah, you can either join them or fight them against them. Which one will you do? All right, what about you, Engwar? Do you have any filthy shamelessness to spout out this week?
I have a confession to make.
Oh God.
I'm a filthy casual.
Yeah, if this show says one thing, it's Engwar's a filthy casual.
Hey, you guys can
And I'm with
hit me up on Twitter or Twitch at Engwar Forever. Probably once in a while I'll be doing some streaming of just about some stuff I'm doing. Just maybe crafting something, playing a lute. Anything else I can think of that might annoy Garbrac.
So what did you do spending your time in your game that you pay $15 a month? Oh, I stand around in the inn and play a lute. Oh, that sounds exciting.
Come on, we're gonna have a music festival. Get some drums, get everything up.
Oh man, I can't believe you just said that. I'm sorry, I ruined your shamelessness.
No. This is much more fun.
Well, Engwar, weren't you asking for them to introduce a music system into ESO?
Totally. I would be all over that. Oh, I'm also a closet role player.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, so next week we might need a new host.
Oh, dang it.
I'm Garbrac. You can follow me on Twitter at Garbrac. You can follow me on Twitch, which I've been streaming a lot more recently. So it's twitch.tv/Garbrac. You can check me out on my website, which is tisoelite.com. I don't really post there a lot anymore, unfortunately. Boo. But I might re-resurrect it. Maybe. I don't know. It's a lot of work. I don't know. We'll think about it. So, like I said, guys, that's our show. These are our awesome hosts. I want to thank them for coming out and joining us again for episode 3. So hopefully they'll be back next week, except for Engwar, Filthy Casual. If you haven't already noticed, we are GameBreaker. We are GameBreaker Nation. GameBreaker itself does fantastic deals on games. If you're in Twitch chat right now, you've probably seen Moobot spouting off some of the awesome deals that you can get. If you want to know more about those deals, head on over to GameBreaker.tv and click on that little deals button. There's some fantastic deals going on. If you are interested in, I believe there's even one on the Evil Within right now, isn't there?
I believe there's a deal. I don't know if it's the main deal. That one was over the weekend.
Oh, right.
Yes. I believe there is still a
check
deal.
it out. You might be able to get Evil Within if you're interested in horror games. That is a phenomenal game.
It looks creepy.
It's scary. But it's a Bethesda game. I mean, Bethesda, it's ZeniMax. You gotta do Inner Crossroads. And, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks everyone for coming out to the show. It was fantastic, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Peace.
Bye.
See ya. Wave goodbye, guys. Say goodbye.